Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Francois Joubert. I'm going to explain to you today the reasons for case length trimming, the absolute necessity for it. But before I do that, I would just like to say thank you very much for the people that supports me. I've had hundreds of thumbs ups and shares and likes and people that's come through to the website to have a look at what I'm doing. Some of the lessons are a little bit long, so I'm going to try and cut them to shorter lessons, and then from there on we can go on. But once again, thank you very much for all the people that support me via this media here on the YouTube. Okay, what I want to bring to your attention today on the case neck trimming. Now what we're looking at there is we cut each and every case of a batch. For instance, if we have a batch of brass here, if you remember in my previous lessons, I've put them through the stainless media, we've cleaned them all and so on, and this was dirty brass. So now these must be cut. So there's a specific length that you must cut the whole batch. Now there's a couple of reasons why you do that. Let's begin with the one that I would say is the most critical one. If you do not cut your length of your case, you can have a problem that it can explode in your rifle. Now you say, what is, it's not possible. Well, in some cartridges, you'll find them in many of there's a big cartridge, there's a 338, there's a 306, the 243 is one of those that grows in the neck, the 303 as well. So what you get, if you look at the chamber of the cut chamber of your rifle, this is the my 338 Lapua that was done. So I got a special number for mine because it was a custom cut reamer. But here you have all different dimensions at the bottom over here, and giving you the length of the final cut up to there, and your free bore distances over there. But here's the critical part here. If you see, or if you look at this length over here, and this length from there to here, you sit here with 15 thou difference from the reamer cut, so that's your chamber that's cut to that length, and your actual case. If it exceeds 15 thou on your case, what will happen is, and I'm going to explain to you on the whiteboard, you will have that this part over here where the case mouth ends, if it is too close to this area here, you can get that the case mouth will curl up and it will crimp your bullet. It will hold it. And if that happens in your rifle, the pressures in your chamber itself can double. You can really, and it's not a joke, you can have an explosion in your face. So that is the main reason why you have to cut your case back to length, so it sits here at a specific point where it does not go into this area over here, and then your free bore space, and then this part over here is where it's starting to cut into the rifling itself. So this is the bore that's been cut so that it lands properly in the grooves. Okay, so this is the back part of the reamer itself. It doesn't matter now, that's for each and every different case. Some cases like the 6.5 284, the 284. The cases, they've got rebated rims. So what I mean with the rebated rim, I will just show you here the difference there. If you can have a look at this one. So this is the 243. So it's got a specific size on the head, and the 284 or the 6.5 284 has exactly the same size, so it fits in the same case holder, but the diameter of the two and the size of the two are fairly different. There you can see the difference. So this is an Active Improved 243, and this is a 6.5 284, just as is. So the cases need to be checked, and the first checking is your length. So what you do is you get your old faithful vernier out, and in your batch you start checking against a specific length that it must be. So on the 338 they give you handbooks, and you can buy these sort of handbooks. I use Hornady handbooks for my reloading. There's a couple of the calibers, newer calibers, like the 375 Chitax and so on, that's not in there. I've got an old version. But that is basically the most important part, is to cut your case to that exact spec. Let's explain to you on the board what I mean exactly there, because on the small scale here, it's maybe not so understandable. What happens with your cartridge if the case has been cut or has not been cut and is too long? So your reamer itself will have two sides on it. So it will have two sides cutting your chamber, and then you will have your shoulder portion here that's cut in the reamer, and then you have your neck part that's cut in your reamer, and then you have a slight part over here before. So that's basically the difference between there and this one over here is your bore diameter. So then you have your free bore, so that goes in there. So that is where people call, this is what a lot of people mean by the jump area. So you can play around with your bullet without touching it. Sorry, this is the free. This dimension here is your groove diameter, not the bore diameter. And then you have, if you would go forward, that will be the rifle. So that will be the groove diameter. And then somewhere around about here at a distance, then the reamer itself starts cutting into the bore. And then you have your bore, and if you look at it from the front, you will have something like that has been done to your rifle. Some of them is 4, some of them have 5. So this is what this part over here does. So it lines it up properly. Now if you insert your case in here, your case will be inserted and lying in a touching the chamber, maybe 2 or 3 microns away from the chamber, very close to the shoulder, and then in the neck area it will go up, and you must stop it before you reach that critical point over there. So, and that is 15 thou play that you have here to there. Then you have from the case mouth to the bore diameter, to the groove diameter that you're going to cut. So if your bullet is inserted and it's sitting over there, and this area over here, now I'm going to try with another color just to mark it out, that angle over there and your case mouth if it comes too close to this point over here, and this is your case neck thickness, if it comes too close to that point over here, which is that critical point over there, then this here will start crimping your case neck. So if you don't watch it, your case length can grow, and it can sit in there, and it will start to fold onto your bullet that sits in here. So in effect, what you will get is you will get a proper crimp that holds back your bullet, and that is the most crucial reason why we case length trim, for other reasons as well, but this is number one. This is the dangerous one. This is the one that can give you problems. This is the one that can blow up in your face. This is the one that can cause serious damage, and you don't want that. So the reason for that is you cut to a length that you are well away from that critical area there where the reamer or your chamber forms that small little step over there. If you don't do that, some cases are known for growing. So in other words, when you shoot them and you resize them full length and do everything there on it, they get a little bit longer, and sometimes in the neck area more if you only do neck sizing. Everything that sets out and you resize it again, it's like pushing some dough, in your hands, so you can press it and everything will go up and some will go down. So that is what you will get. That's the effect. You will have growth in your length of the cut. Then we can carry on with some examples on what is available on the market, and this is what many people have used over many years, and they're still using them, and it's still available. So it's something that works. It's not the most accurate, but you can get accuracy out of it if you know how to manipulate your the cutter itself. Okay, so one of the most basic, or not most basic, but a basic case length trimmer that's been used by many generations and with good results is the Lee case length trimmer. Now here I've got a couple of different ones here just to show you what they look like, and if you buy them, how you or what you get. So this is a 3751. So that is the you get that part over there. That is, and the that part over there, and you get the shell holder. So you get the complete shell holder for that, and then don't forget to get a cutter. This is the trimmer itself. So this has got 4 blades cutting. So that comes apart. So it's, you buy this as a kit, and this one here as a separate part that you buy with. Okay, so it's very easy. It's got a hole in the center. You turn it in until it's tight against the cutters itself here. Now what you do here is very very basic. The size of the shaft is roughly the size of the, you see there's very little play there, so it's fairly good there. And then at the end here, if you can see, there's the pin protruding through the flash hole. So that is a standard that they came up with. So this, if you buy them from Lee, you will get a standard cutter. So there you have the 375. Here I've got, that's a 243. That one is also a 243. The number of the specific cutter is on this bottom part of the shaft itself. So there's a ridge in there, and there's a 375. These are old, these I bought when I started, and they are 35, 40 years old. So they still work, but yeah, there's a 303, so somewhere along the line, I must have a cutter for that, so this one is a little bit tight, so sometimes you just need to use a little bit of force. So what I'm going to show you now is, if you have a 243, there's a Lapua 243, and sorry, that's the 243 is over on this side. So that one will fit in there, also in the mouth, fairly well. There's little play, but not much, and it will go right through until you can see there. I don't know if you can see it on the back, on the white background, but there's the pin sticking out there a fraction. If I push it forward, there's that pin there sticking out about maybe 0.1 of a millimeter. Okay, so the next step up is, if you start to cut the 243, for instance, or let's take the 243. You get the shell holder itself. That one fastens. You've got this top part here that's loose, absolutely loose, so you can fit different sizes of these holders on there, and the 243 sits then very tight on that one. It's got a flat surface over here, so when the pin protrudes through the case itself, it will stop on that part over there, and then your cut will be over. So it's a very quick way of cutting your brass. So let's give this one a go, and I'll show you what it looks like after it's been cut. So just see to it that your case is sitting in nice and tight there. Okay, and there you've got one that's nice and tight, and that's it. So now if you insert your cutter, let's see just how much must be cut off. So there you can see it runs free. So it doesn't need any cutting at this point in time. But if you need one that's been shot a couple of times, then you need to cut them at that specific length. The 375, let me just get the 375 one out over here. When I put that one on here, so let's see if it stops at the bottom or it bottoms out. Yeah, this one is also too short, or the case itself is a little bit short, but you can just drill it, turn it by hand, or if you need to, and you've got one of these, you can just insert it in your drill, and that part you hold, and it will turn it. So there's a little bit of a grip there. And small, I can hardly see them. Little shavings came off on the front here. So that one was close to actual length that I normally use. But this is the principle on how it works. So the shaft will fit nicely in here. It will go through your primer flash hole, and it will stop on the back there. One of the things, if you look at this, the pin itself, if you insert it in the primer flash hole, you've got play in there. You can see there's quite an amount of play there. So if you insert this the shaft with a pin into your brass, and you've got too much play on the inside of the neck, and from here you can have it that your case will eventually end up there, and making it now much more extreme than you think. Then it can hang like this, so you don't get necessarily a square cut on your end of the brass. So, you know, the one side might be a little bit off, and it's not much, you know, it's a little bit, on the long cases, you know, it's a little bit that it can move up and down like that, perhaps, if you haven't resized yet. And that little bit there, up and down, you see it very easy in your vernier if you put it in there. And there you can see this one, so it's got a high spot there. So there you can see there's a high spot there, and there's another. So it's not flat and parallel to the surface over here. So that is what you get with something like this. What you can do in that case is, if you have your case and your cutter, and you are starting to cut, is to move your cutter itself, you know, in a round sort of fashion. So you don't keep it just still on one place. So then your pin will slot in at one specific point in the back of the primer pocket through the flash hole, and it will stay there. So you must, by slightly wiggling your cutter here, then you can get to a very close 90-degree cut. It's a nice, simple method of cutting your brass, is through this method, and it's been successful for many years. They are still selling by the thousands. So the people like this. It's basic. It's for someone that's not going to shoot, you know, 10,000 rounds for competitions and those sort of things. Then there's other cutters that's really very nice, and the way that you can trim them. So with this, you cut it one length only, unless you start trimming on the tip here on the front here. But now you're starting to play around with something you must not play with. So that's the first one. If we can say, that is for the Lee case length trimmers. So you get them in all the different of lengths and cases that's available. That's a 303. One of the other reasons why we cut length, I'd like to show you here what I have in mind. I've got a 375. This is a 235 grain spear that's been moly coated. This is, if you can have a look at this groove over here, it's got like little ribs inside there. That's the cannelure of the bullet, the name for that. So that's that one, 235 spear. That one is a 380 grain rhino. Now these type of grains, especially in a 375, from your 9.3s, your 375s, 416s, you have a cannelure in your bullet. The reason for cutting to length is that if once you've inserted that bullet, before you crimp it, they must all be on the same length, because you can crimp it, or you can give it a roll crimp, or you can give it a factory crimp with one of Lee's dies that will crimp them exactly all at the same spot. And that is what you want. You don't want one that's a little bit high, a little bit low, a little bit down. You know, if you have these and they differ by a millimeter, every one of them, you're not going to get accuracy. It's going to be all over. So these are the big ones. I don't think there's a bigger bullet available than this 380 Rhino. So that's a monster. And then this is the smaller ones, the 235 for that. The same thing. This one has been sized slightly, so it won't go in. But that is so that your mouth sits, all of them, at exactly the same point before you crimp it with your roll crimp or with your factory crimp. So that is it for the basics of this. The Wilson cutter and so on, and that is where the accuracy comes in. is that you have to cut your or trim your brass to the same length as well as absolutely parallel. And that's at the critical point. So if your brass in the front here sits skew, you will have a bullet that's seated, and when it's launched from here in through your free bore into your grooves, then you will have a bullet that's not stable. So it's good to have something that cuts you 100% 90 degree to the axis of the case. So that's the reasons why we cut to length. The very basic one, the critical one, and then the others for accuracy and for specific type of cartridges which needs to be crimped. Otherwise, when you shoot, the magazine box will bump the bullet into the case all the time. So if you like it, send it on, and please, if you can, in the right hand side of your screen there's a subscribe button, and at the bottom of the whole video, if you go into description, there's a whole write-up that I give you there with a couple of time slots on what I've done, and there's also the Patreon page. Now that is there for people that like what they see and they are willing to sponsor me with $1 or $2 or so, and I will help you if you are a Patreon and you run into a problem, or if you want some loads. That is where that comes in, and then I can help you over the phone, over a video call or whatever, to sort out a problem. But thank you very much, and within a few minutes we'll have the Sudami case length trim ready, and then we carry on from there.